Welcome to the Scoop with Dukes. I'm your host, Philip Dukes, aka DukesTheScoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at DukesTheScoop. And please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. If you have not become a member yet, go to the description box for this video, scroll to the bottom, and you will see where you can become a member. All right, guys, like I love to say, one of my favorite sayings, it don't take all day to do nothing. Let's get right into it. How does Shedeur Sanders win on his day off? Now, I know on Friday, the movie we all know and love, Craig got fired on his day off. But how did Shedeur win on his day off? Well, Dillon Gabriel gave him a little help. I'm not even speaking on Dillon Gabriel's on-field performance. I mean, I think Shedeur had a better on-field performance in week one of the preseason versus Gabriel today versus in week two against the Eagles. But it's not completely apples to apples. So I get that. Now, I think Shedeur had just as challenging of a time when it comes to the defense. I've seen people say that, oh, well, the Eagles brought their starters. That's a lie. That's a lie. So let's just get all the misconceptions out of the way. The Eagles have not played established starters since 2022. Facts. Nick Sirianni doesn't believe in it. If you're an established starter, you will not play in a preseason game for the Eagles. An established starter. You could be someone fighting for a starting job who started before. You could be someone who may start this year, but has not won a job yet. But an established starter, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, defensively, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, won't see those guys. So, but not to say that the Eagles have a sorry defense or who they played. They didn't have talent. They did have talent out there. Just like the Panthers had talent out there. So I don't want to get into that whole Eagles, Panthers. I see it as game one versus game two. If you want to make any comparison, the Eagles starters did play during team drills during the joint practice, and you saw how that went for Mr. Gabriel. So we'll leave it there. Now, I've been a guy who's been very, very, I would say, diplomatic when Colorado fans, as I have a large Colorado fan base on this channel. I appreciate you guys. And when Colorado fans would speak of Dillon Gabriel, they would usually say, you know what, this dude, nah, he ain't it. This ain't it. Rooting against this guy, things of that nature. I mean, it even got to the point where some people would basically be hating on Dillon Gabriel, like in order to show support for Shedeur Sanders. And I'm a guy that doesn't feel like you have to dim someone else's light in order for you to shine. And even although I felt as if Shedeur Sanders is the best man for the job, I never rooted against Dillon Gabriel because I felt like that the best man was going to win the job. And I felt like even though Dillon Gabriel was drafted above Shedeur Sanders, Shedeur Sanders' grade based strictly on football and no outside factors was higher than Dillon Gabriel's. So with that being said, I was telling people, like especially in my live feeds, I would always go and say, "Hey y'all, chill. You don't have to say that about Dillon." So today, well, let's get to the on-field portion of it first. So let's just go look at the stats. This is the day that Dillon Gabriel had. Let me pull this up here. Let's check this out. This is the day Dillon Gabriel had. Make sure you see this here. All right. Dillon Gabriel, 13 for 18 completions versus attempts, 143 yards. Zero passing touchdowns unless you want to count the one interception that he had that became a touchdown. Okay, cool. Also had a fumbled exchange of a handoff. So we would say two turnovers that touched his hand. Shedeur Sanders, on the other hand, 14 to 23, 138 passing yards, two passing touchdowns. All right, cool. So we see the stats, we see the comparison. On field alone, you can make a very, very strong case that Shedeur Sanders would have a leg up today based on performance alone. Performance alone. Shedeur Sanders wins today on his day off. Dillon Gabriel did drive the ball. Dillon Gabriel did have success before the turnovers. But if you got a running back who runs 100 yards, who's averaging 80, 90, 100 yards a game, but he has a fumbling issue, he won't be having the opportunity because no matter what you do, you can't afford to give the other team the ball. That's just the name of the game. Fumbles for a running back and interceptions for quarterbacks are unacceptable in the NFL. You can't just throw a ton of picks. You just cannot. And although this was one, there was at least another one that probably should have been an interception. But you could see that the momentum was broken after the pick. But prior to the pick, with all due respect, Dillon Gabriel was balling. All right. But you cannot erase the turnovers. That being alone, Shedeur Sanders did not, that standing alone, Shedeur Sanders did not turn over the ball in his opportunity. So I would give the edge to Shedeur already, just based on field play. Okay. But there's another reason, another incident, another situation that led me to believe that Shedeur Sanders won today. And it may not be in the way that you're thinking. So there's an in-game interview. Dillon Gabriel on the sideline. And he basically calls Shedeur Sanders an entertainer, but he's a competitor. Very coded language. You can kind of see where now, I was thinking the whole time about, I was just thinking, like, man, poor Dillon Gabriel. Poor kid gets caught up in this Shedeur storm. Poor kid. All he wants to do is go out and ball. And then I hear him take a little shot. A little shot at Shedeur. Mm-mm-mm. And, there are people that are saying he didn't mean it and it wasn't this, but let's just hear it for yourself. Or I'll let you hear it for yourself. So we're going to bring this up. All right, let's go right here. And we'll head on over to X, formerly known as Twitter. Check this out.
And my job is to compete, and that's what I'm focused on doing. It's just part of it. There's entertainers and there's competitors, and I totally understand that. And my job is to compete, and that's what I'm focused on doing. It's just part of it. There's entertainers and there's competitors, and I totally understand that. And my job is to compete, and that's what I'm focused on doing. It's just part of it. There's entertainers and there's competitors.
All right, I heard enough. 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 There's entertainers and there's competitors. Why would you answer a question like that in the middle of a game about a quarterback competition? There's entertainers and there's competitors. Okay. Now, I feel like if there was a genuine miscommunication of feelings, there were plenty other words that could have been used. But it kind of reminds me of one Dan Lanning and what he had to say about Colorado and their program not that long ago. So let's check this out. Let's check him out. And I like Dan Lanning, to be honest. I don't think he's no bad guy. I think he did what it took for his team to be competitive and to go out. And he took some shots at Colorado. He did. And let's check that out. Right here.
There's a difference, right? This game ain't going to be played in Hollywood. It's going to be played on the grass, right? It's going to be played on the grass. And let's go. Rooted in substance, not flash. Rooted in substance. Today, we talk with our pads. You talk for your helmet, right? Every moment. The Cinderella story is over, man. Right? They're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins.
Sounds a little familiar. They're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins. Now, for someone looking for an edge on somebody that you're telling to your team and not the entire world, this was a conversation I felt like should have been for the team. It probably was intended for your team. I can see that, and I'm just being fair as I can be. Well, why would you say something like that about your teammate? Or something that you probably know people would feel like would be directed towards your teammate. That was a little iffy for me. I'm like, hold up. All right, so let's be even more fair. Let's just go hear the explanation. How about that, y'all? Let's go hear that. Dillon Gabriel explains what he meant by entertainers and competitors. Let's check that out.
He said there's entertainers and competitors, and I'm a competitor, and I understand there's entertainers. What context was that quote given?
All you in this room are entertainers, and you have a job to do, and I respect it, right? And I'm a competitor, so I have a job to do as well. And I think, just understanding that, that's how I've lived by, and I've said that multiple times. So definitely not a new quote, but something that I've definitely said.
So you were referring to media as the entertainer?
Yeah, I just said that.
And just to clarify, I think how social media is. I think some people are trying to take that as something that you probably did not mean it as. Some people are trying to make it out to be sort of a shot issue. Can you just
First off, I'm all about our team. You know what I mean? And each other. I would never make that, and I've said it before. That's why it's interesting. But for me, I've explained it. Entertainers are you all, competitor. That's what I am, and all my teammates, and we both have jobs to do. So that's it.
All right, y'all. So if you didn't hear, the male reporter asked, what did you mean by that? And then the female, and he says, oh, well, I mean, you guys are the entertainers. Then the female reporter goes and says, she just comes right on out with it. Well, people on social media are going to think that you're talking about Shedeur. There was some telling language in there. One, he never mentioned Shedeur by name. Not one time did he say, no, I would never say anything like that about Shedeur. He kept it at teammates. Oh, yeah, well, you guys are the entertainers and my teammates, we're the competitors. But never would mention Shedeur by name. Call me a conspiracy theorist, call me whatever you want. That was not the most ringing endorsement for someone who didn't mean what a lot of people thinks that he means. I'm sorry. That sounded like a little bit of coded language. He was called out on it. And now it's like, no, I didn't mean it that way. I would never talk about a teammate like that. The teammate got a name. She used the name. She gave you an opportunity to say the name. Shedeur, I didn't mean it that way. But okay, cool. You didn't use that opportunity. That opportunity that presented itself to you, you chose to skip right on over it. This is how Shedeur won. Shedeur now, whether he does or not, has another chip on the shoulder. Not that he needed one. Now Shedeur doesn't have to have that humanitarian part of the competition going on in his mind. A lot of people don't realize how good of a kid and how empathetic he can be. And I think a lot of the media, I think the media narrative placed on Colorado has a lot to do with that. But I think now, if there wasn't already enough of a fire lit under Shedeur, there is now. That was low key cold blooded. Like, bro, why would you even say something like that? Like, why would you even say something close? Like, there are times when I can have a miscommunication with somebody I care about, and we'll say, you know what, I shouldn't have even been in that ballpark. I shouldn't have even said anything in that arena. You know, real one to real one. Like, you know what, that's my bad. I shouldn't even been close to that. But I ain't mean it that way. Now, this is not to say that Dillon Gabriel won't have a one-on-one conversation with Shedeur about it, which I think that he will. But what it goes to show you is that the competition is more than just a competition in some's minds. Dillon Gabriel thinks he's going to compete against an entertainer. They asked him about competition, and he separated competition by there's competition and entertainers. Why would you need to talk about an entertainer when they're asking you about a quarterback competition? And if I'm not mistaken, is the NFL not sports entertainment? I mean, is it a civil duty? If football doesn't get played, I mean, does the winner of the game, does their political party win? I mean, like, if you score 5 touchdowns, do new schools get built in impoverished areas? When is football not a kid's game? It's a football game, the game of football. And I'm not the smartest man in the world by far. Yeah, I don't have to double down on that. But it's not a game for entertainment. But if you're thinking along the same lines that Dan Lannon was thinking along, then yeah, you get it. You're playing for clicks. You're an entertainer. I'm a competitor. Oh, yeah, I'm a feisty. Ooh, yeah. Bro, and this is to everybody watching. I'm a little disappointed in Dillon Gabriel. But sometimes things have to happen to bring out that extra fire. So Shedeur won not only by outperforming Dillon Gabriel in preseason week 1 to preseason week versus preseason week 2, but now he has another narrative that he can stack along every other narrative that's been placed against him. Now the competition has become personal. And I think that favors Shedeur Sanders. All right, it's my time, y'all. I want to get in and get out, man. I appreciate you. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I'm out.